what have you been discussing?
I think because of the network, we all went off. Because of the
Okay.
time. Yes.
Okay. I think we are building up little by little. We have about 11 people now.
Sure, sir.
Anyway, earlier somebody asked me about the model, and there is
Yes,
a
yes, sir. We did,
edited
sir.
version of the model with all the pages that are missing on it. So you're gonna get it. I don't know when, but I'm sure you get it. I'll speak to the coordinators so that they will get you the edited version of the model. And then don't worry too much about your quizzes and stuff like that. I'm in charge. I'll take care of it. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Okay
very
then.
much.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
I will not deceive you. There's no point in deceiving you of anything. You just have to read what I teach you, and then the questions you know. I mean, we set questions, we set exams questions not to fail you, to test your knowledge. I get it. So there's not going to be any trick in the exams question. It's just going to be what you've learned in class and just that. No surprises. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
sir.
we do don't have problem with those things, especially when the lecturer himself said the questions. Most times we don't have much problem with it. We are even happy that is the same lecturer who will be setting the questions. But the major problem sometimes we do have is when the lecturer doesn't mark himself. That is where we face most challenges because you remember during our level 200, I think the second semester or so, there were so many questions, almost about 67 questions that the lecturer taught us. We answered correctly. The lecturer herself agreed that it was correct that we chose. But when it came, we were marked wrong, which that 6 or 7 marks really, I mean, that's a lot for most of us. So when it happens that way, especially when you try to petition for remarking, it brings a whole lot of issues. So we are only praying that as you are going to set the questions, the markers will also have the right answers to mark so that there will not be any offside of marking wrong and all sorts of things. Thank you, sir.
Well noted. Okay. For this, I can assure you nobody will fail. And then your quizzes, I'm the one that set your questions and also set the marking scheme. And your quizzes are mostly objective. Okay. So there's no way I'm going to set a question, and even if the devil is the one marking it for you, to go outside the marking scheme. No, I getting it. There's a reason why we set questions with the marking scheme. Objective questions, the marking scheme is the answers. You understand? So because we know we might not be the one to mark it, that is why we attach marking scheme to it. So that whoever marks it is guided. Mind you, the person who's going to mark it will not be an expert in the field that I'm teaching. But I should be able to set a marking scheme to guide the person as to what is correct and what is not. So based on that, we set marking schemes, and then, oh guys, don't worry about this. You all will do well, okay? I don't know why we are even talking about it. You all will do well. You pass well, very well.
Sure.
Nobody
Thanks
is
in
failing this
advance,
course,
sir.
Sure,
okay?
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So I think we have 26 people now. We can start. Yeah. Now that I have a
Can you see
strong
it now so we can
network,
start?
yes. Now that I have a stronger network, let me recap. We started from last week, really background to what disaster is. We find out types and classification of disasters. Okay. Now we are looking at phases of disasters. We are looking at phases of disasters in the event that a disaster, a particular a particular type of disaster happens. What are the characteristics you're going to see in that particular type of disaster? Let's take flood, for instance. When there's flood, what are the characteristics of a flood? Okay, so the characteristics of a flood is is grouped, okay, into phases. Okay, the first stage or stages, either phases or stages. Okay, the first stage, what happens? The second stage, what happens? The third stage, what happens? Now, the necessity for you to know this is because you will use this for any interventions, okay, as a disaster manager. Knowing the phases will help you know what type of interventions to make whenever there is a disaster. Okay, so let's zoom into it. The first type we have is the pre-emergency phase. The pre-emergency phase. Now, what you should note is that the pre-emergency phase is called so because it is before the emergency starts. Pre means before. Okay, so before the emergency starts, what are we going to see? What are we going to expect? What are, as a manager of the disaster, what are the specific things that you should do? You understand? Now I read. This is a period before the disaster strike and may be used to evaluate how often a particular community is exposed to different risks. Now this is called risk mapping. Sorry, risk mapping. Now risk mapping means that before the disaster strikes, we know that this area is prone to flood. So we do at this so the pre-disaster, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to do what we call planning and evaluate our plans and monitor the plans and put in basic necessities that will ensure that, or basic amenities that will ensure that the plan that we have can be carried on. I get it. So a pre-emergency phase, okay, of a disaster, we are looking at mapping. Mapping is for you to identify what type of disaster happens in this particular location. So having known that this type of disaster happens at this particular location at this period of time, you take measures to ensure that before the disaster happens, you are guided, you save lives and property. You put on plans that will save lives and property. So we go. I read again, it is a period that provides opportunity for community to prepare and plan the right mitigation response measures for an impending disaster. A successful protective response action is based on a good disaster warning system and the availability and available resources like the identification of temporary shelter, stock, stocking basic supplies, planning evacuation routes, and monitoring trends. So this is what I was telling you about. I mean, before the disaster starts, okay, you use this period, okay, to plan that should the disaster happens, what are we going to need? Okay. Now let me give you a classic example. Look, many of these security services, they do it a lot. Okay. Take police, for instance. An example of mapping is that we know in December there's going to be festivities, Christmas and all those New Year's and stuff like that. And whenever there is heightening festivities, okay, crime rate goes high. So you realize that before Christmas, the police department or the police service will engage in series of education, training, and orientation of their men to ensure that when we enter December, then they will do deployment of personnel. There is this thing, IGP, is it Al Hassan? He did what is called police visibility, where the policemen are stationed at vantage points under tents, okay, to prevent crime. The sight of a police alone puts fear in criminals to prevent them from committing crime. Okay, that is a good planning process. Okay, before even the disaster strikes or before even the crime is committed. Take an institution like fire service. Okay, pre-emergency, before they are called for emergency, men are on 24 hours duty, ready for any emergency that may strike. Two, you realize that their vehicle or the tender always must have fuel in it, and then must also have what we call water. That's a tool for fighting fire. I get it. And all the other tools that is to ensure that whenever there is disaster, they respond appropriately are put in, so that whenever there is a disaster, it's not now that you're going around to go and bring tools to come and, I mean, respond. That would be a very bad response time. We get it. If you have any question, feel free to interrupt me. Now, the impact and flight phase. Now, this is the stage I read. This is the stage and the time that a disaster strike triggers the hazard and cause the displacement of large people from their homes. This stage is accompanied by panic reactions, confusion, fear, distress, suffering, shock, and stampedes. The time for this phase depends on the type of disaster, the number of people affected, and the distance they must travel to find sanctuary. It is followed immediately by by interventions such as self-help, search and rescue, survival evacuation, transportation, provision of temporary shelters, and basic supplies to the affected population. So at the impact stage or the impact and flight stage, that is exactly when the disaster happens. Now, if you remember, one of the classifications of disaster, we said we have the onsets, okay, slow onsets disasters give you the chance to prepare, okay, but there are other disasters like earthquake, flood, and conflict, fire. Many a times the warning system is very low, so you don't get the time to prepare. You'll be there, you don't know what's next, then the earth starts shaking. That is the case of earthquake. Now, at this stage, everybody will be confused. That's the normal reaction you expect from people. There will be fear. People will be running. There will be stampede. You know, it is the survival of the fittest at this stage. Now, at this stage, there is a little that the outsider can do. In fact, the message will not even reach people. It is the people who are affected who, when they have the survival skill, can survive the disaster. So, what we mean with the impact and flight phase is that at this stage, the disaster just occurred and the people are in disarray, confusion. Everybody is running. You get it? So, so that's the second phase. Now, the third phase. This third phase is called the acute phase. This phase begins immediately after the impact of the disaster. The time depends on the flow of information to outside world, normally through communications in the media. This phase is largely a reactive and a response to distress call for help. Governments and humanitarian agencies usually respond to media reports of high death rates, collateral damages in infrastructure, and other medical emergencies. The priority, the priority is to save savable lives and take control of other security concerns, especially in complex emergencies. So we'll come and discuss complex emergency situation. What that means. Complex emergency situation just means that one emergency triggers another. I think we discussed it in terminologies. Yeah, yeah. Now,
Yes, sir.
critical service such as providing food, water, sanitation, basic health care, protection from violence and harassment are quickly organized. This is necessary to reduce suffering and loss of lives. So, this stage is this is the first stage that gives the government or um, you, the disaster manager, okay, the chance to react. Now, this stage is dependent on the flow of information. So, if the community is cut off from communications and the network is bad and people cannot, and the community is farther away from other communities, it takes time for people to respond, for emergency responders to respond to this. Sometimes it is not that communication is bad, but the communicator doesn't even know how to reach for help. People don't even know how to communicate to emergency responders. And Ghana is a typical place where you realize that there's a disaster, and instead of a person calling the security services, they don't even know the contact of the security services. And I have conducted this survey for several times, even among students. I want a very quick answer. Okay, what is the number that you can use to reach directly to the ambulance service in case somebody faints or somebody collapses right now? Can somebody tell me immediately? Anybody?
192.
Say again.
192.
How do you reach ambulance directly? Not the national emergency line, a direct line for ambulance service. Hello? Anybody? Anybody among you that works with the ambulance service?
So with this there it will be tough. But some of us have in our areas we have the ambulance service drivers, their personal contact that sometimes when
Good,
such things happen we call them direct.
good. So you see, that is the confusion. That's the confusion in our country. Now, can somebody tell me how to reach the police service? Anybody? Do you have a police
Apart from
service
the
in your
191, apart from the 191, unless you have a personal direct contact with any of them.
good? Now you realize
Sir,
that
please, the line is breaking.
can you hear? Really, my line is breaking.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other person that
As
my line is breaking?
So I think it's okay now.
Okay. Okay. So you realize the confusion that we have, even among students. Okay. So imagine if it is somebody who is not academic, who is not literate, who is in a certain community, okay, where the literacy rate is low, how the person reach the emergency. There are communities that are cut off with, as I told you, from communication. That is different, okay. But even the people themselves, okay, how to reach emergency becomes difficult for them because they don't even know. There's no established, a well-rehearsed channel of reaching for help, and that is lacking in our education. Now, let me tell you one thing. This course you guys are reading is one of the most important courses that I feel should have been made a core subject at all universities, because it teaches you life skills. I mean, life saving skills, survival skills. Okay, that many people in our communities, we keep losing people in times of accident because of the fact that they do not have the survival skill, something that could prevent, that is preventable, that somebody could step in and prevent the person from dying. But because the people don't have the skill, we lose people. We'll come to that concern when we get to first aid. I'll teach you some survival skill and then how to make sure that nobody dies when their time is not due. Okay, so that is it for the acute phase. This is the stage that gives you the chance, or the rescuer, or the disaster manager, the chance to save savable lives. My concern is on savable lives. Good. So post emergency phase. If you have a question, just interrupt. Okay. Post emergency phase.
Sir, sir, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Go ahead, Basil.
Sir, we understand
Go
that
on.
the acute phase is the flow of information after the disaster. Now, my
Yes.
question is, in Ghana here, we have a situation whereby a disaster may occur or an accident may occur. Then you see
Yeah.
people taking pictures with their phones and posting them
Mm-hmm.
on social media. Can we
Mm-hmm.
consider that as an acute phase?
Yes, it is in the acute phase. But what happens is that this is one of the barriers to effective communication or effective transfer of information to the security services or to the emergency respondent. And I said we'll discuss this one later on. Okay. The phenomenon of people just trying to go viral instead of stepping in to help, they just stand aloof and be taking pictures, and everybody has turned into a journalist. You know, we will address this concern a bit further. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it is a barrier to effective flow of information during the acute phase. One of the barriers is, as I said, is bad network, cut of communication. And one of the barriers I said is that human behavior, okay, also serve as a barrier. And one of the examples is what you just gave, Asiri. Okay, so let's go on. Post emergency phase. This is a period when the active disaster itself is over and the initial rescue and humanitarian intervention put in place is ongoing. There is generally slow movement in population by the affected community. This period provides opportunity for reflections and diagnosis of the right intervention for a particular disaster. Critical services are properly established and maintained during this time. Yes, go ahead. Anthony. Okay. I think Anthony is not with us.
Sir, can you mute him from your side?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Is it muted? Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is that at this stage, okay. Oh, really? Yes, Alaska, you have your hand up. Alaska. Okay,
Sir, go on, sir.
okay. So post-emergency phase. I read on. This period provide opportunity for reflection and diagnosis of the right intervention for a particular disaster. Critical services are properly established and maintained during this phase. The cause of displacement may be evolving, and displaced people wait for something to happen so that they can return home, integrate with the local community, or relocate elsewhere. Getting to the end of this phase, as an international support decline, the emphasis shifts to building local capacity and promoting community participation. It is difficult to set time limit on the post-disaster phase or to accurately define the limits of each, even if one specific type of disaster. For example, the emergency phase of a hurricane or a flood may be only few days or as long as a week. A drought and resulting famine can last for months or even years or more. And that can also be said about um, war and conflict. So, what this phase means is that the disaster has tried, there has been some interventions, okay? There has been initial interventions. After the acute phase, okay, there has been provision of food, water, basic amenities, something to keep the people suffering at bay. I mean, to lessen the people's suffering. So after that stage, now this post-emergency phase means after the disaster or after the emergency has struck. Now here, help is there, help has come. Okay, what happens is that how long does this help continue for the people to live depends on the type of disaster. Two, here critical services will be established. There will be provision of shelter, there will be provision of food. I mean, things will start flowing in. But the problem that this phase is encountered with is that sometimes going forward, when external support stops coming or decline, okay, now it is left for the community itself to, as it were, build their own local capacity, okay, to survive. Let me give you an example. You remember when the Akosombo Dam was spilled? It was a disaster. Everybody from around the countries, we started sending relief items to the people of North Tongue or is it South Tongue. Everybody was going. Now, do you hear about South Tongue anymore? But I'm sure if you go there,
No, sir.
the communities that were affected by the flood, some of them are still suffering from the post-flood, effect. Now, what happens is that when external supply stops at this stage, that's the problem. It is incumbent on the community to develop their own local capacity to be able to survive and continue with the um, um, and continue with the development of the community. And that one, it depends on the people themselves, the community members. Okay, what it means is that the emergency respondent can't stay there forever. What it means is that you, the disaster manager who goes there to manage, you only put facilities at their disposal, okay? But you will not, you are not supposed to stay there with them, okay? Now, in placing all these facilities at their disposal, ensure that when you leave or when your support is cut off, the community can continue living without depending on you. Now, with this stage, so essentially we have three phases, okay? We have the pre-emergency phase, then we have the impact and flight phase. Then, sorry, we have four: emergency, pre-emergency, before the emergency, impact when the disaster strike, acute phase, that is when immediately the disaster strike, and then the post-emergency phase, that is after the disaster. So these are the four phases. Now, what you are going to look at later from this one, after this one, is some interventions. And those interventions primarily happen after the post-emergency phase. Do you all understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Take
Yes, I will
note,
do, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
there are four stages. Four stages: pre-emergency, the impact and flight phase, the acute phase, and then the post-emergency phase. These four are the phases. Now, what we are about to discuss after these four is the interventions after the post-emergency phase. They are not phases. Technically, they are not phases. They are there are interventions after the phases. Do we understand? Get it clear? I'm emphasizing on this because this especially, and also terminologies especially, will feature in every exams that you write under disaster management. Okay, so now let's look at what we call repatriation phase. Now, you remember whenever there is a disaster, people leave the community, or the situation is becomes so acute to the extent that we need to move the people out of the community. Now, when the people who remembers what happened at Apati, Apati in the western region, yeah, who remembers what happened there?
The explosion.
All
The
of us.
chemical explosion.
Good.
So it is
When the
Apiati.
explosion happened,
Apiati.
Apiati, right? Good.
Yes, sir.
I said Apati. Okay, Apiati, the head of Apia, right? So if you remember, at Apiati, when the explosion happened, it scattered everything. People were running everywhere. Okay, their buildings got damaged. The government came in. So let's use Apiati as an example. Okay, when the message got out, they had response. People sent what do you call it? Relief items, and then the
Relief
government came
items.
in. So when the government came in, you have to move the people from the community and rebuild the community for them. So when people are displaced, and after the building of the community, the people return to the community. But immediately the government came in and wanted to move the people. Some of the people said they will not move. So some of them were kept in tents. Okay, some of them were kept in churches and community halls, whilst what we call activities of are taking place in the community to restore the community. So put Apieti in your mind as an example as we explain this other phases. Okay. So repatriation phase. This after the emergency situation is over, displaced people are expected to return to their place of origin, either on their own or with the help of relief agencies. So repatriation may be either forced or voluntary. One of the classic examples you can give for repatriation is when there was a civil war in Liberia. Many of the Liberians came to Ghana and we camped them at Bujumbura, okay, during the war. Now, some of them gave birth here, and the children grew up in Ghana. They didn't even know Liberia, and became adults in Ghana. But when UN came, when the war was over and Liberia was peaceful, there was the need to move them back to Liberia. And the government had to do it together with UN. Repatriation then, so moving them back to Liberia means repatriation. Some of them had decided, some of them said they don't know Liberia because they were born here, they will not go back. So what do? You have to force them or they have to choose to go. Those of them who said they will not go, in order not to force them, UN put in some incentive. So what I mean is that okay, we are repatriating you. If you come voluntarily and you want to go, we'll give you $100. And that incentive made a lot of people, took part in the repatriation process. But this was the trick of it. Some of them, they take the $100, they travel to Liberia, and then return back and come and join the queue and want to take the $100 again, you know, until they put in measures to forestall that. So some of them took the $100, they went to Liberia and then came back. So repatriation is one of the interventions after the disaster has struck. After the um, post-emergency phase. Now let's look at rehabilitation and reconstruction. Now take note of these two. Rehabilitation is the immediate intervention you give to a community that is stricken by disaster. Then we look at reconstruction. Reconstruction, however, is the permanent intervention or the permanent resumption of everything, like putting the community back into its status quo before the disaster happened. So restoring the community as it were before the disaster happened is what we call reconstruction. Rehabilitation, however, is putting in temporary measures to ensure that life continues. So classical example, at Apiati, when the explosive device detonated, the people were left with nothing. Their houses were demolished, their food was destroyed, water was poisoned. So we rushed in, their clothes were burned, we rushed in, we took them clothes, we took them mattresses, we provided them with tents to provide them with some basic interventions, food, medical aid, and sometimes we even cancel them. We send pastors there to go and talk to them, or Atorenchem is part of God's plan and things like that. Then, after that, we decided to build the community. So when we went in there with these facilities, we call it rehabilitation, temporary temporary facilities. We call it rehabilitation. But when help came later on, after years, when we rebuilt the community, then we call that stage reconstruction. Are we together? Yes, Beru.
Yes,
Very
sir.
well, sir.
Yes, Beru Fire. Your hand is up on mute and talk to me.
So let's continue. Maybe it's a mistake.
Okay. All right. So let's continue. There are some questions there. I don't know whether you have it in your books, but you can try your hands on them. Okay. Okay. So any question at this stage?
So in the books, there was no question. There has
Okay.
never been any question. Even the summary doesn't come.
Oh, okay. So I told you this is
Yeah.
the edited version. This is the
Okay.
edited version. I will send it to them. They will upload it, and all of you will get it. Is that
Okay, sir.
okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Very well done.
class rep particularly remind me to do this. Okay. Send me a reminder until I said, hey, man, you are worrying me. Keep sending me a reminder, okay?
Yes,
Is
sir.
class rep
You
with
will do
us?
that, sir.
Good, good, good. Okay, so now let's go to Unit 1, Section 4. Now, in this unit, we are going to look at type, we are going to look at some disasters, okay? And how to manage them. We'll take particular examples of each disasters and then look at how to manage them. So we'll look at climate disasters, okay? We look at examples of climate disasters, okay? Then we'll look at, we are not going to read. I'm just going to give you a summary of it, okay? Then we'll look at flood. Then we'll look at some interventions that we are going to have on flood, how to manage flood, okay? Then we'll also look at drought, and then we'll also look at fire disasters. Now, we categorize some of these things into climate disasters because the causal agent of it is climate. Now, what we mean by climate disasters, okay, is that as a result of changes in the climate, a disaster may happen. The changes in the climate may be as a result of excessive cold or excessive heat. So what you realize is that there are certain conditions, okay, that is there are certain conditions that is associated to a certain disaster based on the climate, okay. Either the climate changing to an extreme coldness or the climate change to an extreme heat. Now, mind you, every disaster that is as a result of, that is directly as a result of climate is what it is. It falls under what we call natural disasters. So we'll be looking at some example of natural disasters. Um, Now, let me explain to you a little about what climate is. Climate is actually weather conditions, okay, but a weather condition that has lasted for a long time, okay. So, for instance, in when there is variation of weather conditions, we came to know that okay, there's a difference between the weather and what a climate is. Now, when a weather is consistent for a long time, let's say 10 years, then it assumes what you call climate. So you realize that when you get to the northern region, for instance, we can state that the climate, the 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 the, the sunshine, okay, the heat there is not as compared to when you come to central region or greater Accra. Okay, so the climate tends to be warm and humid. Okay, whereas when you come to Accra, it is more or less moist and then sometimes humid. Not sometimes it's not too warm, or even if it is warm, there is moisture, it's filled with moisture. Okay. Whereas in the north, it is warm and dry. Okay. So when a particular weather is consistent in a certain location for a period long enough, like 10 years, then it assumes what we call a climate. Now, you realize that there is so many things that the climate, the reason we are so concerned about the climate is because certain type of disasters happen because of the climate. And we're going to look at some examples of those disasters and how to intervene. Now, one of them we are looking at is deforestation. We are teaching you this so that when you go back to your community, you'll be the leaders to prevent some of these disasters from happening. Now, deforestation is the removal of your vegetation cover over a vast stretch of land. Before the class ends, remind me, I'll show you some pictures of these types of disasters, okay? Excuse me for a minute. Okay, the bathroom is low. Okay, are we together? Now, deforestation is the removal of vegetation cover over a land or on a land. And this should normally not be a problem, but what it brings into being. Now, deforestation results in high temperature, okay, the consequences of which is called the greenhouse effect. You don't have to you don't have to worry your head over what the greenhouse effect is, purely scientific. But what you realize, okay, that um um what do we call it? There are causes, there are factors that cause deforestation. One of them in Ghana is galamsey. Another one is bad farming practices. I remember those days we used to say we have these farming practices, shifting cultivation. It's a very bad farming practices those days because we have arable lands. We just keep on cultivating. If the land loses its fertility, we move in. We move on. We move on until so we leave that land bare, and then the vegetation on it dies, and then it leads to so many type of disasters. One of the things you notice, okay, whenever there is deforestation, so some of the factors for deforestation is mining, building of roads, construction for what do we call it, residential purposes, okay, and other industrial activities. Those are factors that lead, that causes deforestation. Now, when deforestation happens, what do we see? It means the forest cover is removed. And with the human being, or we as people, depend much on the vegetation or forest. If you remember the saying that when the last tree dies, the last man dies, it's as a result of the importance of the vegetation to the human being. This vegetation cover provides us with provides us with oxygen, clean air, to the extent that when you remove them, the quality of air that you breathe becomes problematic. So, some of the problems that deforestation results in is you realize that because the vegetation holds water, if the vegetation is not there, it causes flood, erosion. Vegetation helps check erosion. And desertification. Vegetation prevents the surface, prevents desertification. I spoke to you about landslide. Today you see example of a landslide. And possibly when there is a landslide, there's going to be an earthquake. One of the most impacts or effects of deforestation that should be the concern of all of us is reduction in food supply or food security. So take notes. Now, what do we do? What are the intervention? The best intervention is to put in a good forestry policy, a policy to prevent deforestation. In the northern region some time ago, they did a very wonderful job. You know, there is this tree that they call the wadawa tree, right? It is prevalent in all the northern regions. It is the fruits that they use to prepare the wadawa, and then I think use the fruits to prepare this oil, shea butter, right? If I'm not wrong. Can somebody help? Is it the dawa tree we use to prepare shea butter?
No, sir.
Please, no.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No.
Okay,
Sir,
okay,
the shea butter onto is different.
Sir,
okay,
no, sir. The share not tree too is there.
okay. Yes, I'm rather thinking about the shea butter tree, not the dawa tree. I thought that's the name of
Yeah.
the
The dawa, no, sir. The dawa tree.
shea butter tree. Good. Now the shea butter tree, there had been a policy in the past, if I'm wrong, correct me, that nobody should fell the shea butter tree, to the extent that even if you are to build your house and the dawa tree is the shea butter tree is there and you can avoid falling it, you are supposed to do so. As for farming, there nobody is supposed to cut down the tree because they are farming. Am I right? Have some of you heard about this policy? Those of you from the north.
But we
Yes,
had them for
yeah,
eco
it was there,
purposes.
but sometimes,
Say again.
yeah, but recently all the chiefs in Upper West, they are supporting it. So if you cut a tree, share tree or dawada, if they cut you, you'll be sent to jail.
Good.
So it's
Good.
this year they are starting to implement that policy.
Yeah. It's a very old policy, and that policy is very good. So the very good intervention, the only intervention, okay, because human being by nature we are greedy, okay. So the 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 best policy or the best intervention is to put on good policies like the one for the shea butter tree, okay, that no felling of trees. Here where I am, if you are to if you buy a lot, that is if you have a plot and you have to build your building, all the trees on the building, if there is a tree on the building, all the trees on the building, you need to go and take license and pay for them before you can cut them. Two, if you can avoid cutting, so it becomes difficult for you to cut them down. Two, every house is supposed to have a lot where you plant tree or vegetation. So you realize in almost every building here, you find a tree. I think we should practice that in Ghana because that gives us a very quality air to breathe. Okay. The next thing you should note, one of the other example for climate disaster is flood, and we've spoken a lot about flooding. Now, what I want you to note is that take note the flood disaster can either be natural or man-made. The underlying difference is that The natural one is sheer volume of the water that falls from rain. Any other thing that causes flood, that is not sheer volume of water that falls from rain or melting ice, it is not natural disaster. Any other cause of disaster, that is flooding, that didn't fall from rain or that didn't occur because of melting ice, is not, that flood is never a natural disaster. Okay, good. So what does flood does? It destroy our homes, it destroy our water system, it destroy our foods, it destroy our crops and kill people. If you are in Accra and flood happens every year, you know the impact and the effect of flood on many businesses and especially lives. But what happens, what we do, we go and break some small houses and say they are built on a waterway. Then next year we come back. By next year, the time we come back, they have erased those buildings again. We call it building on a waterways. So those are the impact of flood. Now, this part is very, very important. Before a flood happens, if your area is prone to flood, or if you have been sent as a manager to go and manage an area, um, um, to go and manage an area that is prone to flood, these are the things you should do. These are the interventions you should do. First of all, make sure that any structure that will be affected by the flood is reinforced. Reinforcement means you have to reinforce the walls. Sometimes if they are weak walls, you have to reinforce them with solid concrete or metals or iron rods. Okay. You have to re-elevate your building. I mean, whoever wants to build in areas that is known for flood, like in Accra, don't go and build on a waterway anyway. But if your area is prone to flood, elevate your building. I mean, the foundation, the footing should be elevated. Create drains for water to pass. Okay. You can also create what we call sandbags to serve as barrier for the flood whenever there is flood. Okay. Also, very important, when you build a wall, sometimes your area there will be flood, and the flood can only reach into your house when you allow it. So you raise your foundation, you raise you have a wall, okay. Install what we call 10 valves, so that if the water outside your wall, the water outside your wall cannot enter into your house. There's a valve we call the return valve or check valve. Those valves help prevent what outside waters to entering your house. The last thing, the last intervention is to learn how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, or the water is in such a way that you cannot swim in it, then you should walk with a walking stick or a guided stick. Do not, let me tell you this, do not drive. If you're driving, do not drive in a floating water that is about 6 feet high. No, not 6 feet high. That is about 6 feet high. Okay. If you do, you submerge. So let me no, from 4 feet, don't drive into any water that is flowing. Else the flood waters will carry you and the car away. Don't be a hero. Park somewhere. When the flood water recedes, then you, many people make these mistakes. And I've seen a lot of videos to that effect when people are killed because they thought, oh, this water is not easy. My car is heavier, they can drive through. When you try, you die. And when you are to when you are walking, get a guided stick. Make sure that the stick, put the stick where your leg is going to step, and then use it to guide yourself and then go away. Else, if you don't do that, you put your leg in a hole and you submerge and you will not come back again. Either the water will take you away or you turn into a fish. Any question? Okay. So let's take drought for the last one and then we take our first break. Now drought. A drought is what we call shortage of water. The shortage could be as a result of reducing rainfall or for an extended period of time. Now, what drought does is that it makes the land bare because vegetation relies on rain, water, or water to thrive. And so, if there is no water, the vegetation dries out. Now, the effect of drought mainly is on agriculture and food supply. So whenever there is drought, just like deforestation, we experience food shortage. Now, the same intervention we had for deforestation, okay, also is prominent on preventing drought. So in order to prevent drought, you have to look at policies, you have to engage in afforestation, okay, and then you also have to be, I mean, with new technologies, there's a way you can seed rains or move rain or do irrigation, okay, to ensure that there is no drought or there's no drought as a result of shortage of water, okay. So at this point, is there any question, please? Okay, so then let's take our first break, okay. We'll be back in 10 minutes, okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
very
sir,
good.
we can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Okay, so
Loud
let's
and
take
clear,
10
sir.
minutes. Yeah, so we'll be back in
Okay.
10 minutes, okay?
So we're back 7:15, sir. Thank you.
All right. See you then.
Hello. Hello. Am I the only one who is not hearing the lecture?
I'm here. I'm here with you.
Please, we're on 10 minutes break.
We are coming back at 7:15. So if you are here, you are here on you are here on your own.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi
Hi,
guys.
sir.
Hello,
Yeah, can
sir.
you hear me?
Hi, sir. We are back,
Hello,
sir.
Yeah,
sir.
welcome back. Sorry, I had a very
Yes,
long
sir.
call and I had to tell the person that no, we can't talk now because I have a class. And before the person could hang up, I'm sorry. Okay,
No problem, sir.
good.
We did for you.
This session, okay. I want you to have a practical feel of what a disaster. I mean, watch some disaster videos. I'm sharing the screen. I hope you see it. Yeah.
73.
The first one we are going to look at. Okay, let's start with tsunami. You remember we talked about tsunami, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm going to show you example of tsunami. Okay. Can you see the screen as I'm sharing?
Sir, we can see the screen.
You can see. Can you see it?
Say, is the model that is there?
Yes, sir, we can see.
It's a model. Okay, okay, don't worry. Don't worry, I'll show you the screen. Um, okay. Okay. So this is an example of a tsunami. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know why it's not loading, but so this is an example of tsunami. Okay. Basically, a tsunami is an earthquake that happened inside the sea, and the impact is felt on land. You will see in the video some pictures of rushing water onto land. Woe betide you if you are chilling at the beach and it happens. You will turn into a fish. Okay, so enough of that. So those are some of the examples, okay, of how devastating a tsunami can be. It's basically an earthquake that happened in the sea. um many of the people of Japanese origin, of the people in Japan. Can you see this one? Let me show you. Can you see it? Have you seen the
Yes, sir.
power? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
it comes with exceedingly powerful. And then the water rises up to 130 feet high. You see? Look at that building. It's covered by water, seawater. Carries everything on its wake away. Okay. Okay, so let's look at another example. This time we're going to look at landslide. Okay, landslide. Um, let's look at landslide. Okay, so guys, can you see?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
fine, sir.
Guys, yeah, can you see? This is an example of a landslide. Okay. Can you see the undulating nature of the land?
Yes, sir.
You see, this
Yes,
surface
sir.
of the land has collapsed. Okay, and all these vehicles that were standing on it collapse downward. So this type of landslide, there is another one we call mudslide. Okay, mudslide is similar to landslide, just that the one with mud comes with a lot of water. Okay, now let's look at um the devastating nature of earthquake. Okay, now with earthquake, we haven't experienced that in Ghana though. Can you see? So the earth shakes. Can you see? The earth shakes and shakes everything on it. Now, one of the things we don't have training in is earthquake in Ghana. Should there be earthquake, our some of us will even be surprised we don't know what is happening. And some people will think Armageddon has happened. Who remembered what happened in Turkey? And then we lost one of our own. Who remembered that one?
Sir, we have experienced earthquake in Ghana before.
Yes, but that was way before a lot of us were born.
Okay, sir. Let's take it like that.
Yeah. Oh, you said what? You said we should take it like that. Did
We
you
have to
say
take
we
it
should take
like
it
that
like that?
because It's indeed a long time ago. So some people were not born by then.
Yeah, it happened in the 50s, right? Or which one are you
No,
referring
it
to? I
it,
don't.
it is not that distant though.
Which
It
year
is
was
not that
that?
distant. I think somewhere within this
McCarthy Hill.
2000 or so.
McCarthy
Yes.
Hill.
What? No. Those ones were not earthquakes. So those ones were earth tremor. Okay.
Oh,
The
so
earth
apart
shakes
from the
Ah.
more.
McCarthy Hill one, there was one, I think Rolling Stone. I think Rolling
Uh-huh.
Stone. That was either
Yes.
early latter part of 80s or early 90s.
Those ones
Yeah, I
are
There
remember
was
that
affected.
one.
there was
Early 90s.
yeah there was a rambling one. It just passed.
Yes. That one is not earthquake. It's earth tremor.
So what do you call that one? That is a trauma
It's
because it was a
yeah,
passing
that
one.
is earth tremor.
Oh, okay.
And even currently when you go to those McCarthy Hill area, okay, they still feel it. The earth shakes a little. There was a time, even in Accra, I one time I was sitting there around. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Where was it?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes,
even
sir.
in Accra, sometimes you'll be there in the night, and then
Yes, sir.
the earth will shake more. I mean, Accra sits on a fault line, so the land in Accra normally shakes like that. That one we call it earth trauma. Earth trauma. But earthquake is different. Earthquake comes with so much force within the fixtures of the land, and it ends up destroying a lot of things on its way. A lot. So what you've been experiencing during Rollins time and what recently we've been experiencing is not earthquake.
But sir, with the one that happened at McCarthy Hill, it's also
Yeah,
not an earthquake because
no,
the earth some places the earth opened up, buildings cracked,
yeah,
some
yeah. It
some
backs
buildings
buildings
even
and stuff like
collapsed.
that. Yeah, yeah. Now, what you should notice that you see, even if they blast, if you go to areas where, if you go to areas where they do, what's the name?
Quarry sites.
Hold on. Areas where they do, oh, quarries,
Quarry.
quarry sites.
Quarry sites.
If you go to quarry sites, okay, they sometimes blow explosion, okay, and even mining sites, they blow explosive to the extent that you feel the earth is shaking. And buildings around those areas, you realize that because of the blowing, the buildings, there are visible cracks on them as a result of the quarry or mining activity. You understand? Now that is earth tremor. It happens locally,
The blasting.
and that one it measures 0.00 something on the Richter scale. So we don't call that one earthquake. Rare earthquake is measured on the Richter scale. It starts from 1 to 9, and whenever it happens, you see real shaking. Okay. Now, what you are currently seeing is an example of drought, and this drought and deforestation goes hand in hand. Whenever there is drought or deforestation, it results in food shortages. To prevent it, the government must make a very solid policy, and then also focus on afforestation. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So those are some of the examples I thought you guys should see them on picture. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
any question at this stage?
Yes, please. I want to ask something.
Yes, go ahead.
You made mention that if with the drought and deforestation, they move hand in
Yeah.
hand.
Yes.
But in an exam where you are asked which one causes which one, please, which one do you pick? Is it the drought that causes deforestation or the other way around?
Okay. Well, very good question. Now, what you should note is that they both have different factors, okay, that leads to them. Drought, the factor that leads to drought is shortage of water. But many other activities can result in deforestation. Bad farming practice, deforestation. Use of chemicals in farming, they lead to deforestation. Galamsey is causing deforestation in Ghana. Many of the activities, mining, building, this estate building. I remember when I was a kid around Accra, there were bushes where we go and look for bela and catch fish in rivers. These days, and we even cut grass and give it to goats and sheep. These days, nothing. If you have a sheep and you are rearing sheep or goats or cow in Accra, you buy the grass because you can't find them anywhere. So building causes deforestation. Deforestation is removal of vegetation, and every activity that removes vegetation is deforestation, causes deforestation, including droughts, shortage of water. Do you understand? But droughts, the only factor that happens that results in drought is shortage of water. Are we together? Have you noticed the
Yes,
difference,
sir.
my brother?
Yes, sir.
Good. Any question? Okay. So now we are going to look at disaster management in practice. Okay. Um, let's see. I'll take this one quickly. Guys, I promise you get this new version, okay?
Yes, sir.
So that you get to read. There are a lot of information
Yes,
in there.
sir.
Last year I didn't teach using the model, and I realized many of the students presented answers from the model different from the answers the markers were expecting. No, they presented answers from my PowerPoint, which is not too different though, but which is limited in terms of you cannot put everything on a PowerPoint. You just put something small and explain. So it affected their marks because I wasn't the one that marked it. And so I made it a policy that this term I'll be the one to mark it. Even in the event that I'm not the one to mark it, the questions are all going to come from the model and the answers will come from the model. So the question answers from the model, the marking scheme will come from the model. Okay. Everything will come from the model so that nobody is disadvantaged. Mind you, you have other colleagues who are not with us online here. I don't know. Class rep, is everybody with us online here? All the centers?
Yes, sir. Some of us are there.
I'm not sure,
Class
sir.
rep, you are not sure, right?
Yeah, some are doing face to face.
Face to face, yeah. I know some are doing face to face in Accra and then Cape Coast. And my colleague, Dr. Santi and Professor Kuka are the ones handling those ones. You guys don't know them. But what sorry, you guys may not know them. But what I am assuring you of is the fact that I handle the online one. I'm the one to set the questions. I'm the one to give you the marking scheme. So sorry, to give the marking scheme. So you are not disadvantaged based on the fact that you are doing it online. Do you understand?
Thank you, sir. Very
Yes,
grateful, sir.
sir.
I know
Very
how
well.
Thank you.
online class can be
But there's
very,
a
very
question.
tedious. Say again.
My question is, you
Yes,
handling the
question.
online, does it mean that the question you set, that's what the face to face are also going to take?
Yes, yes.
Oh, all right.
I'm the leader
All
of
right.
this course. Okay. I'm the leader of this
Yes, sir.
course. I am the one teaching the whole Ghana. Many of you come from different parts of the country. Okay. Not center base. You understand? So, and the other lecturers, they are assisting me. The question will come from me, even though I will discuss the questions with them, but I'm the final authority. So you are not disadvantaged. Do you understand?
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Very well, sir.
In fact, the
Please
policy is
stay.
that I'm not supposed
Yes,
to
sir.
even teach. Okay, so relax. The system is supposed to do the I'm not supposed to teach because I am the leader of this course. I'm not supposed to teach because it will give my students much advantage compared to others because I'm the expert on the field. I get in it. So I'm not supposed to teach. But we made it in such
Yeah,
a way
because
that
we are
okay, even
blessed.
if I'm
Because
supposed
we are blessed. That's why.
to yes, I'm you are blessed, eh?
Yes, sir.
So for now, let's keep it like that. Okay. You guys relax. You are mine. We'll go through this one easily. Okay. Online is
Okay.
difficult. I know. But let's do this. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
now we are going to look at general disaster management. Okay. General disaster management. Now, what do we mean by general disaster management? In there are so many examples of disasters. Okay. Every particular disaster um has what do we call a particular way of managing it. So what we're looking at in general disaster management is that it doesn't matter which type of disaster it is. This is the approach of managing every type of disaster. It doesn't matter which type of disaster. Get this practice or this management principles in if you get these management principles at hand, okay, you can manage every type of disaster. So let's zoom at it. The first thing you should know in managing every disaster is your preparedness. They say proper planning prevents PPPF. Proper planning prevents failure. Okay. Now, planning is very important in managing every disaster. If you remember, when we're looking at disaster management introduction, we told you that there is something we call pre-emergency phase. The pre-emergency phase affords you the opportunity to plan for a disaster. Okay. So the first thing you should note in every disaster management is preparedness. You should be prepared. Should be prepared. But how do we get prepared? How do we get prepared? Now, preparation means we should be ready when a disaster happens. We should be ready before the disaster happens. How do we become ready? We'll first have to put in, or we first have to put in the design of what to expect whenever the disaster happens. We are to expect that there will be flooding. So what do we do when there is flooding? That is the preparation. I get it. Now, key interventions with preparation is that first, whenever the disaster is going to happen, do we have a warning system to warn people that this disaster will happen? This disaster will happen. Two, if the disaster happens, how are we going to deal with the people? If they are running, how are we going to assemble them? If they are homeless, how are we going to deal with that? Where are we going to relocate them? Three, people will need food and water. How are we going to take care of that? Four, people will need a place to place their head, to put their head. How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to get shelters? What do you call tents and all of this? Okay. Now, five, how are we going to conscientize the people to run or to escape from the disaster? All of this is part of preparation. Warning system is not any sophisticated gadgets that, okay, there's going to be earthquake. People start running. No. Warning system is not that there's going to be some horn or some bell so that when the disaster happens, somebody goes there and ring. They are part of the warning system, but those are sophisticated warning system. Simply warning the people that, hey, when you are leaving your home, put off all electrical gadgets to prevent fire. It's enough warning system. Education. Simply educating the people that when you are walking on the streets, walk at places where there is light, illumination, okay? Don't be walking in corners or else somebody may attack you and take your stuff. It's a good warning system. Simply warning students on campus that walk in twos or threes, walk in group, don't walk alone to prevent crime is a good warning system. I get it. So before the disaster strike, we have to put in place all of this warning system, evacuation. How are we going to evacuate the people? Where are we going to relocate the people if there is a need to relocate them? Where is food and water going to come from? Because water will be contaminated, food will be contaminated. These are all preparation before the disaster strike. Your aim in getting a very good preparation, okay, in making a very good preparation is to reduce mortality or injuries or fatalities. So if you put in place a very good preparation, you realize that the disaster may happen, especially in natural disasters, they happen without warning, okay? But because the people are conscientized, because the people have been educated, because the people they know, then what happens is that when the disaster happens, the impact is less. There will not be there will not be many fatalities, there will not be many injuries. Okay. So that is a very that is it for preparation. Okay. Now you can read on there are some items and it's to help you in explaining um preparation. A part of the preparation, as was stated here, general preparedness for a disaster, planning planning to design an effective response to a disaster. So you plan how to respond to the disaster effectively. Okay. Training to ensure role play work as planned. So when you are training the people, you train them in order to escape from the disaster, or you train the people to identify the warning system. When you train people for instance, when you train people that okay, when you are leaving your home, make sure you put everything off so that fire disaster doesn't occur. You're training them. You are exposing them to we are preparing them towards the disaster. And so when the disaster happens, they know what to do, or they know what to do even before the disaster happens. Then simulation exercise. This is very important. Sometimes when you train the people, you have to make them practice what you train. You have to do a mock exercise that makes it look like real. That this is the disaster. The disaster had happened. What are we going to do? I think before the flood that happened at South Town, yeah, before that disaster, NADMO, fire, police, all the security agencies did some simulation exercise. Is it before or after? I don't quite remember in Ghana.
So I
But
think it was before.
yeah, it was before, right?
DRA
So,
organized a program on that for simulation.
exactly. It's good. So you realize that all of them had a role to play, but all these roles were on paper. Now, what they did was to put paper to work. So there was simulation. Who plays which role? Which agency play which role, and all of that. And I'm sure the simulation helped. Had it not been that, we would have lost more than we lost. You understand? So those are the things. You can read the rest. As I said, we'll make this available to you probably by next week. Okay. Now, so preparation one, general disaster management, how to manage every disaster. Okay. The second one is disaster impact. You remember we did some impact stage. Now, when the disaster happens, okay, how to manage it. This is the second way of managing every disaster. So from preparation, we come to the impact. When the disaster happens, what do we do? What you should note is that anytime a disaster happens, you have to deal with human reaction. People will panic. People will be confused. There will be stress, suffering, shock, stampede, everything that you note that whenever calamity happens, you see them in people, you should expect it. So you have to also prepare for that. But preparation is how do you deal with people who have been who are suffering from a disaster situation. Now, if you remember, we talked about sudden onset and slow onset disaster. With slow onset disasters, it takes time to build, so people will not be caught off guard. But with sudden onset disasters, you realize that because the impact is so sudden, people are caught off guard. Now, with each, the approach will be different. So, what do you do with the affected population? One of the things you should note is that dealing with human, of course, these are the people you are going to rescue. And human being, whenever they are in a disaster situation, everybody is selfish. They want your attention first. So we will come to that in first aid. There's something we call triage. You prioritize, you design a triage in such a way that you prioritize emergencies based on life-threatening situation. So you prioritize which people to give your help to first, because almost everybody needs help in a disaster situation. And if you are not careful, there's going to be a stampede because everybody is running away from the disaster. And if you're not careful, you're going to have a very bad judgment. You give um you give your intervention to one person once the other person is dead. Had you left that person, the other person wouldn't have died. So we need to look at prioritizing. That is what we call triage. You need to look at prioritizing which event to attend to first, which section of the population are you going to give your help to first. Are you getting it? So those are the things that you must concern you during the impact stage. One of the things that may help you during the impact stage will be and take note that all of this is done on paper. All of this we are discussing is done on paper. You are putting every item on paper. When there is impact, what am I going to do at the impact stage? And remember, the impact stage, the response is not going to come from outside. The response is going to come from within. So what is your preparation? What is the communication line? As in, when there is an impact, how are they going to reach to the outside world? How is the response going to be like? How can people escape from a disaster? Some people don't even know how to escape from a disaster. And let me give you this education. Everywhere you enter, in your own building or any office you enter, my advice to you is that look for escape routes.
Escape
That
route.
where you entered from, if the place is blocked, where are you going to pass? Where are you going to run to when there is a danger? If you can go back from where you are coming from. It's a good education. How to escape from a disaster can save a person's life. Also, how to seek help, how to call for intervention can save many people's life. So take note of that, okay?
Yes,
Then
sir.
we come to, yes. Is there a question?
No,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Okay, so then we come to disaster response. Now, how do we respond when there is a disaster? How do we respond? What you should notice that everything that we started talking about, right from impact, right from planning or preparedness to disaster response, everything you are planning it on paper. What are we going to do? Now, this activity will be what to save the day if you plan very well. All of this is under planning. All your management principles is on planning. Okay. Now, disaster response, we are looking at how to respond at this time when the disaster happened. The impact stage is gone. Okay. Remember, the impact stage, there is no outside world, there is no outside intervention, there is no third party intervention. It is within the community, it is the community that must survive the impact because the time frame is short for outside assistance. But at the disaster response stage, we are responding to a call to help. Information has reached you, the manager, or information has reached the security services, or information has reached the first respondents. So we have to react. We have to respond. How do we respond? We respond when we get to the field. We do what we call search and rescue. If it is involving fire, we'll do firefighting. If it is involving building, then we'll have to do what we call search and rescue in the rubberies, excavation. The response team will also have to include food and water. So you realize that the response team, we may have the fire service, we may have the police service, we may have Ghana Health Service, okay? We may have many of the security institutions like the military may come there. We may have backup from the prisons. We may have backup from the immigration. Okay, all of them may have to be there when we need hands. Okay. Now, in your plan of response, you need to coordinate all these agencies and give them roles to play. If there's a disaster, each and every institution should be working collaboratively, not independently. So they put their synergy together to ensure that they respond effectively to as it were, ensure there is no much casualties or prevent casualties or injuries. Okay, yeah. So some of the effective way of responding, okay, is to take the following approaches. Okay, extrication technique, how to remove people from disaster area. Okay. Triage. Triage is how to prioritize, as I mentioned earlier on, how to prioritize which of the section of the population that is affected needs help the more. Many a times typically in emergencies, complex emergencies, you'll be caught up with this. And then transportation, how to transport the people from one place, from the place of the disaster to a place of shelter or relative safety. You get it? Those are all part of the techniques that you need answers to whenever you are planning. You can read more in the model when you get it. Okay. Okay. So then we'll have what you call mass evacuation. That is for transportation. We have search and rescue. Search, you look for survivors, okay, and then you rescue them. After you search and rescue the survivors, then those one who didn't survive, you look for them, okay, and then also um evacuate dead bodies. In your search and rescue, look, don't underrate any corner or any place that you may think, oh, there is this place. I'm not sure people will be there. No. Make a very wide search and rescue. Children especially, they get frightened and go and hide under unconventional places. You may be surprised. Some of them will open a bag and enter. Some of them will go and hide in the culvert. Some of them will be hiding at obscure places because of fear. So don't underrate any creek. Don't underrate anything. Look through all the wreckages and debris for in your search and rescue. Also, you have to have a very attentive ear and sense of uh, a, a very high sense of you have to be very sensitive to sound. Okay, because some people may be hiding somewhere and sometimes it is their breath that may draw your attention. You must be very sensitive. Smell. Sometimes you may smell blood, or sometimes you may smell somebody's perfume and be able to locate the person. Yeah. So there's going to be, you have to also plan on mass evacuation. If there's the necessity for us to move a lot of people, how are we going to do it? Are we going to use a bus? Are we going to use an helicopter? Are we going to use canoe or a boat? How are we going to do it? All should be part of your plan. Then also you have to make medical preparation. Okay, it should be part of your response. So you coordinate with EMT, that is the ambulance service. You coordinate with Ghana Health Service and all those agencies. Yeah. Okay. So there is also food and water and also you need to maintain law and order. Trust me, I have been in the rescue business at least for 6 years in Cape Coast. One of the things that will disturb you when you are offering rescue is bystanders, onlookers. They will do things to mess up with your operations. They will say things to demoralize you. They will want to put you somewhere so that they do the work. Meanwhile, they can't do it. They will tell you everything that is wrong. Meanwhile, they think they are right. And so if you don't know how to deal with these people, you have a problem. 2, maintaining law and order saves you. Is it the last one? No, the last 2 rescue that I accompanied the rescue team with. We went on an accident scene, and the guy was trapped, and the place was so dark, so we needed lights. I remember my friend, who is my brother too, he had his phone, so he was providing us with lights. And then because he has to get down there and do the work himself, he said, "Oh, Pacho, put me phone, mommy, na show me a light, no I." He didn't know who he was giving the phone to. He gave his phone to a bystander, and the person took the phone away. Right after the operation, we rescued the guy alive, but he lost his phone. We called the guy, said, "Yes, oh, where are you? Can I take my phone back?" He said, "Oh, phone when you be more. Means when you no, we stole his phone." So you going in to help, you must also make sure that you establish security system to protect the rescuer and any other person involved, because everybody that gathers around has their own agenda for being there, and some of them is not genuine. I'll tell you a story when we start first aid. In case I forget, uh, class rep, take note and remind me. Now, after the response, we have to do recovery. And recovery, I told you, is in 2 parts. We have what we call the temporary one and what we call the permanent one. The temporary one is done during the response stage. That is what we call the rehabilitation. The permanent one is done during recovery itself, during the recovery stage itself. That is what we call reconstruction. And I'll give you an example of APAT, how we started with tents, provision of food and water and clothing. Okay. Then later on, we built the Ghanaian government built a whole new community for the APAT people. Yeah. So those are the response. So these are the classification of activities under recovery phase. We have what we call rehabilitation and reconstruction. And I think we have explained those ones already. There is what we call community rescue. That one, I'm not going to treat it. Just read it. Okay. And let's take our break here. Another 10 minutes break. When we come, we'll do 20 minutes and we'll close. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question?
Okay, sir.
No, sir.
Yes. Any question?
Yes, sir. Please, sir, I wanted to find out something. With the scenario of the your colleague giving his phone out to a bystander.
Yeah.
I witnessed something like this before, but I didn't know how to describe this kind of crime. Is it robbery, pickpocketing, or stealing?
Well, pickpocketing and robbery are all stealing. Taking something that doesn't belong to you is stealing. But the method is what makes the difference. If it is pickpocketing, the person pick it from your body that you didn't know. If it is armed robbery, the person comes there with arms, okay, and threaten to hurt you when you resist. But all of this, their mother is stealing or theft, taking something that doesn't belong to you,
This one is
And
good day
so
stealing.
we say again.
So, sir, if I get
Good
you
day,
clear,
good day stealing.
in this situation,
Yeah,
in
it's
as
stealing.
much as
Uh,
sir, can
yeah,
you hear me, sir?
yeah, I can hear you. I
Hello,
can hear
sir.
you, my brother. Go on.
Yeah, so as in this case, in as much as you are protecting lives and property of the victims of the disaster, you must also take keen note of
Yeah,
your own life and your
perfect,
properties around you.
perfect,
Okay, sir.
perfect.
Thank
So
you,
what
sir.
we say is that who rescued the rescuer? The rescuer must be in a position to to, as a matter of fact, be safe first before you can save others. Don't take your safety for granted. Do you understand? It's perfect. Yes. Any other question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other question, please? Okay. So let's take our break now. Okay. Um, we'll reconvene in 10 minutes time. We'll do 20 minutes, then we'll close. Okay. If I go beyond 20 minutes, check me. Okay.
Well,
All right,
Yes,
all
sir.
right.
Very well.
All right. So your break starts now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. If I will get a cable. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Please do so. Facial cleanser. Which one do you think will be okay for me? Why do? I want to clear my where I come from. There's too much there. It's when I work, so I just want to clear my situation so that I'll become fair like you. No, I don't have it.
Hello, guys. If anybody can hear me, let me say hi.
Hi,
We
yeah,
can
we
hear
are
you,
on.
sir.
Good.
Yeah, so
Yes,
we
sir. We
are
are
here.
on, sir.
Hi.
Thank you. Now we can hear me. Thank you. Okay, so let's do some 20 minutes and then close, okay? 20 minutes or less. Now, in this stage, we're looking at general disaster management, okay? What are you going to do, okay, as a disaster manager in planning for a disaster, okay? So we looked at the first one, we looked at preparation, what are the preparation, what is supposed to put in place to be prepared for a disaster. Look at what you're going to do when there is an impact, okay? And then you have to also prepare your response. In preparing your response, I think we talked about extrication technique, we talked about triage, we talked about transportation, okay? And then also some of the plans you have to do in your response is how to notify or what to do in notification, how to initiate a response, okay, or how to activate a response, okay. So as I was telling you before, sometimes in the community, the people living in need, and many of us don't even know how to reach for emergency response, okay. So the use of um 192, 191, and 193, okay, or the new emergency line. Who knows the new emergency line? The general emergency line. Who knows the general emergency line, please? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that one is 192.
No, the general emergency line.
As a triple one, one, one.
One eight
191.
triple five. One
Again?
eight triple five.
191.
No, 18 is for police. I mean, one of the emergency line for police. Who knows the Ghanaian emergency line? The Ghana emergency line.
That is not 190.
No,
Triple one, 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 one.
no.
It's 119.
What?
119.
No,
119.
no.
191.
Oh, hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello,
go
sir.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll just remember it's 999 or 112.
it's 112. Yeah, correct.
Yes, sir.
So you see
That
how
is the
difficult it
112.
is. Hello guys.
Yes, sir.
112. Yes,
Yeah,
that
112.
is the
It's
that is the
112.
Ghanaian emergency line. In US
Emergency line.
or Canada, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, very well, sir. We can hear you, sir. You can hear
Yeah.
you, sir.
In US or Canada, the emergency line is 191. Okay. But in Ghana, it is 112. So take note. When you call 112, depending on which of the emergency response you want, they will direct you to the respondent. So if it is fire situation and you cannot reach the fire service on 192, if you dial 112, they will redirect your call to the fire service. If it is ambulance, they will redirect it to ambulance. If it is police, they will redirect it to police. If it's any other emergency, they will know what to do. Are we together? And don't be demoralized. This thing I'm talking to you now, okay? Every year, if I ask students, 80 to 90% don't know. So emergency response in Ghana is very, very problematic. That is why, out of ignorance, people keep beating the fire people. And they are not also explaining why people are beating them. They don't have their, I don't know whether they don't have their answers, but more or less, people don't even know how to reach the emergency. So you imagine that this is level 400, and not only you, I teach master's students. Okay, when you ask them what is the emergency line for Ghana, 90% of them don't know. So now you have Koto in the markets, who is more concerned about her Kako and her Kobe, how to get money into her pocket. You know she knows. You think she knows, and so she will call the police. When there's a problem, she can't call the police. When there's fire and she calls, she may store somebody's name as fire, and then say me fair fire. Then she calls the person. Maybe the person is sleeping or eating, or his phone is on silence, or even has traveled, and the person doesn't say me fair fire for us. Umufa, me fair umama. You understand? So this is where the problem is. Okay. So notification, activation, and initial response. How to even activate the response is a problem. Okay. Now we also look at search and rescue. I told you about search and rescue. People will be buried. People out of fear may hide in corners and crypts and places. Kindly look out for. Don't leave any place in doubt. If don't leave any place, search in every place. Creeks, corners, creeks, grown, and then pay attention to signs, movements, sound, smell in your search and rescue. So you are putting all of this on paper, and the agency that is going to respond and do search and rescue, they have to take notes of where to search, sounds to look out for. Okay. The mass evacuation, you have to make preparation for mass evacuation. We're looking at, are the people going to walk from the place? Is it possible for them to walk? Is it that we provide them with a bus? Are we going to airlift them? You know, and all of that. I think we lost 5 people, right? Last year through the helicopter crash. Let's
Hey,
assume that when the helicopter fell, they didn't die. They were injured. They were going to They were on the verge of, they needed to be rescued. How fast can we get them? What is the means of getting them? Anybody? What would be the effective means to get them and rescue them?
So it's going
same
to be
here,
the same
Captain.
helicopter.
Good, good. It's going to be the same method that they got involved in. Okay, it means helicopter should go there with medics. Okay, use ropes to get to them, and then effect the rescue. And so you see, when you are preparing for evacuation, you must have the scenario of this nature, okay, and prepare for it. But it will all depend on the community where you are going to do the rescue at. Okay. Yeah. And don't leave any possibility out. So emergency medical services must be available. Okay, you should put that one in your plan. How to secure food and water must be part of your plan. Okay. Law and order, we spoke about that. Look out for onlookers who may cause chaos, looting, stealing, rape, violent crime. You know, sometimes when there is a problem in a community, that is when people take advantage of that. They think they want to to pursue their own agenda. I remember when I stated that chaos may happen, looting, stealing, rape. And then one gentleman asked me, he said, How can we be in a situation and then somebody will go and rape somebody? I say you don't know. He is thinking about maybe there is earthquake or there is flood and those the natural disasters, emergency where everybody is dying, so nobody will think about. I say people pursue their agenda and they take advantage of every situation to pursue it. When there is civil war and they recruit militias, some of these militias have not, I mean, they have no status in society. When they take them, that is when they get some strength to pick every woman they want and rape her. And so in such situation, because there is lawlessness, they do whatever they want. So take note of that. So disaster recovery, how do you recover? I told you recovery is done in phases. Okay. In the emergency phase, we only need first aid intervention. We only need basic assistance. Okay. We only need things to ease the pain during recovery. Okay. So in a transition or the acute, so that is in the emergency or the acute phase. Now in the response phase, we'll do what we call rehabilitation. We provide tents, we provide basic amenities, okay, to bring the life back to normal so that people can flow with their own routine. You understand? In the reconstruction phase, that is long time after the disaster has happened, then we fix all the roads in the community that was damaged as a result of the conflict. We build all the buildings that were damaged as a result of the conflict. Okay, we restore the community to its status quo as it were before the disaster strike. Okay, so then we look at what we call classification of activity under recovery phase. And I said there is two. We have rehabilitation and reconstruction. Rehabilitation is short term, provision of basic amenities, food, water, shelter, basic. Okay, tents, and the shelter is tents, medical supply. Then the reconstruction is restoring the community to the best as it were before the problem started. So we are looking at providing all the infrastructure, the school buildings that were collapsed, we rebuild them. Hospitals, you look at how to build them. Water supply, you look at how to restore the water supply system. During the reconstruction phase, you may bring them bottled waters or sachet water. They will live on that. In the reconstruction stage, you have to build a formidable water supply system. You understand? And I think um, that should bring us to the end of today's lesson. The next one we are going to look at, which will be the last one, is components of community rescue. Component of community rescue. We're looking at if you are given a community, how are you going to effect a good rescue in that community? That one, I will allow you to go and read. And then instead of writing reflections for me today, okay, design. I'll send the assignment to the class rep. Okay, and your answer should be based on the readings you are going to do from this point. The component of community recovery. Okay. Um, let's see. Yeah. Um,
So basically, we can repeat again. The line breaks. So
don't worry. I'll send the question to you. Okay. And then the answer is in Unit 1, Section 6. The answer will be in Unit 1, Section 6. Do you understand?
So there is no
But we
section
are not.
6 in my module.
Yes,
There's no
I'll
section
send. I'll
6.
send the I'll send the model to you, and we are not
Next you will
presenting
give
this.
us the model.
You are not presenting this next week. You are presenting this the following week. Are you getting it?
All right, sir. All
Yeah,
right,
I'll
sir.
give you 2 weeks to do this one, and that will be the end of the unit. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll end here. If you have any question, let me hear from you now. The next thing we are going to do is basic life support or first aid. Okay. So with introduction to disaster management, we are done. I'll send you the assignments. Then you read and give me answers to the assignments. That should be okay for you. I mean, that should have led you to read all the units under section 1, introduction to. But you can come back if you need any assistance or if you are confused. Okay. Then next week when we meet, we'll recap everything we did in disaster management to summarize it, and then we'll start with basic life support or first aid. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll send your assignment to class rep, and then you present the assignment 2 weeks. Is that okay?
Well noted, sir.
That's
Take the
very well.
assignment
Yes.
Yes, sir.
that I give you serious because I don't have time to set the questions. The questions I set for you is the one that will come to the exams. That is the appoint I always give. If you play with them, what would you do?
Sir, we didn't hear
So
the last part.
which one? Which one?
We're
I
hearing
said,
something like
You're
that.
saying the question that you.
listen to me carefully. I don't have time to set new questions. The question I give you in class is the question that will feature in your final exams. So if you play with those questions, what are we, JJ?
Okay, sir. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, sir.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah, great. Yes, sir. We are good. We are good to go
Good.
with that, sir. Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. So that will be it for this time. If you
Solid
have any
rapport.
question, ask me. If not, we'll close. Any question?
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Any
sir. Sir,
Thank you,
a
sir.
small discussion. Small discussion.
okay.
Sir, earlier on you made mention of looking at some areas which is likely to feature in the exams. You made mention of
Yes.
some topics. I think I quite remember you made mention of the terminologies related to disaster, if I'm right.
Yes. 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 What
Right,
about
sir.
them?
Yeah, I just want to pin
You
it
want to
down. That's
confirm?
right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, confirm.
Yes, sir.
You are confirmed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then your
Yeah,
quiz,
and I
your
think
quiz questions is going to be based on your quiz question is going to be multiple choice. Okay.
that's
And I
OBJ.
tell you,
OBJ.
OBE objectives. So
So hope not
I'm not the
photomanto.
one to put the one to.
Yeah, no fill in the gaps.
So it's a multiple
Not
choice.
really
Yes.
multiple choice. I mean multiple choice. So if you make me change my mind,
Yes, I'm
okay,
saying
I'm not
that
the kind of person.
we are praying you don't bring in fill in the gaps.
Now, got too
You are
much.
implicating
No,
yourself.
no, no,
You are implicating yourself.
no, no, no.
Something.
I'll not. I will not. I will not.
Something
That's
there.
an assurance from me.
Let us be
Don't
sure.
worry.
Let
You are
us be
Okay.
implicating
sure. We need
yourself.
assurance. We need
Something is
assurance.
creating a problem.
I will not trick you.
You
But if
you
you
are
don't read the
implicating us.
model,
What assurance
hello.
do you want again?
I said if you don't read the model, forget it because all the questions will come from the model.
Yes, sir.
But I will
Yes,
not
sir.
trick you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, sir.
I'll trick you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's leave it here. Okay. If you have any suggestion or any question, you can forward it to the class rep. He will let me know. For now, we end the class. Thank you very much for your attention. We'll meet again next week.
Thank you very
And
much,
bye
sir.
to you all.
Thank you.
And bye to you too. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, sir. 360.
What,
Why are you like
what
360.
that?
Don't go.
controversy do you
360.
want again? You
Why are you
like
like that?
asking so many questions too much.
So
Eh?
360. Are you not happy of the question I
It's
asked?
implicating. You
360.
I'm
always
not
try to
happy. The
implicate.
teacher let us know that it's
Man,
multiple choice question. Then you are setting your
you
own
are,
question again.
You,
hey,
you,
Salo.
you have to confirm the 360 before you go, and it's 190. You,
I won't mind you. I won't mind you.
you,
I won't mind if
com,
somebody
com,
is there.
com,
I say give it to
you,
your senior woman.
I know, I know what they give them. You know, go take good care of it.
Hey, you are there. You can talk too much.
Kofi, you
Are
teach
you
a
journalist?
kraka. I want to be one. I want to be a police
Go and
journalist.
read. Go and read. Go and read. Go and
You
read.
think everybody's head is like your head.
Oh my God. I beg you.
Eh?
Samson.
You think my head is like your head, Kofi? You've run away. Salu, 360.
Samson.
360, I'm here.